At the Capitol with Representative Shane Jett. Representative Jett, last week, towards the end of session, you had some legislation on the table. How'd that go?
You know, it went down in flames. It was an unfortunate hit done by a representative who didn't agree with the program that's already in place by the federal government. And the debate got very nasty.
Whoa, before we go there,
yes.
Let's talk about the issue. What was at hand, and what was the issue, and what's federally in place?
All right, we have a system that's honorary consul generals, and each state is allowed to have one honorary consul general to help develop the relationship, as we said in the last interview, with the state and that country.
Okay.
And some of the members of the legislature are very apprehensive about international involvement of any kind. I recognize it as inevitable. We have to promote Oklahoma exports. We have to promote Oklahoma relations if we're going to compete nationally and make sure that we have jobs here in Oklahoma that stay here, and we don't have our kids leaving college or leaving high school and working elsewhere like Texas or some of the other places that are focused on these issues.
And you've been given charge over these issues by being named chair of the Foreign Affairs and Tourism?
International Relations and Tourism, but that's right.
Okay.
We've been tasked, plus I chair the International Development Committee, which is tasked in statute with husbanding the relationship with Oklahoma international communities and with international trade. So it's something that I'm being tasked with, I'm being responsible, I'm trying to find ways that we can promote Oklahoma both from a tourism standpoint as well as international business standpoint. And we have a program that's in place. The Constitution allows for ambassadors, consuls, etc. And under that program and in treaty, we've outlined the stipulation that's required. Now, what happens today is that if a foreign government would like to have someone in Oklahoma representing both the state of Oklahoma to their country and their country here, they just pick somebody and send that nomination to the State Department, and then we get notified when it's all happened and done. We're notified that it's happened. Well, the legislation that I was putting into place would give legislators an opportunity to participate in that selection process. So instead of waiting for a country to find out that Oklahoma exists and it's not a screenplay, is send them a slate of qualified candidates that we've pre-approved, we've pre-vetted, and said, here is one, Oklahoma exists, and two, here's some great individuals who would do an excellent job in representing our country or our state in your country. That's a very proactive step. But it's working within the context of current federal law and federal treaties, international treaties. Well, the question that was brought up was, is your wife going to benefit from this? And which is completely contrary to House rules. You're prohibited from impugning the character of any of the House members or calling to question the motivation behind the bill.
Okay.
First off.
One second.
Yes.
1 second. You said a lot there.
Yes, I did.
and so we understand you're looking for really an international representative to be a proactive step towards international businesses looking to locate in this region, so that Oklahoma has a go-to person to not only invite these people, but also sell these people really on the benefits of Oklahoma for their company, which ultimately positively impacts Oklahoma's economy.
That's right.
And now we transition to, okay, you present this bill on the floor, and then what happened?
Well, what happened was there's a lot of history in the particular member that has problems with both any international activity whatsoever, or black helicopters, things of that nature. And so there was a lot of suspicion, paranoia, what's really going on here? And so instead of really exploring the issue, and it was unfortunate because I worked very closely with this particular representative, bringing the bill by, showing him in advance, making sure that he understood the entire bill. And basically the questions that I answered for him at his desk on the House floor, he raised all of those, and then in addition to that, planted the seeds of doubt that maybe, just maybe, I was trying to get my wife a job, which is ludicrous because it doesn't pay anything. If I want my wife to have a job, I want to have one that pays. But I would never violate the fiduciary responsibility that I have with the people of House District 27. And furthermore, we have federal judges whose wives are honorary consul generals of France and other places as well. So there's a precedent set where the federal government has vetted these candidates and said, you know what, they're qualified. He's a federal judge. She has her own personal career. And I was challenged by the member to promise to the House membership that I would not use my position to allow anyone in my family to become an honorary consul general. Well, and specifically said my wife. And first of all, I don't tell my wife what to do. I respect my wife and I respect women's rights. And it was interesting to me that anyone who would be opposed to the repressive regimes that do take away women's rights would urge a representative to curtail his wife's ability to take advantage of something that's allowed under both federal and state law. So I take issue with that. And then
and just on that point,
yes,
that's not to say that you were even thinking that for your wife. What the bill that is proposed, as I understand it, just from what you're talking about, it sounds like it's something that's good for all of Oklahoma, and whoever that best person is, all of us would want to be there, no matter who they were.
That's right. And if
Okay.
you have the relationships and you can bring to the table qualities that would be good for that country and good for the state of Oklahoma, then you're one of many on a slate of potential candidates that are being offered, instead of waiting for someone to say, oh, Oklahoma exists and let's find a person that qualifies,
Right.
is providing that slate. So I wouldn't be in the selection process. I could, along with every other member on the House, nominate someone. And then the other portion of the bill that was important was requiring that the Secretary of State notify the governor's office, the lieutenant governor's office, every Senate and every House member, so that we would know what's going on. And I think that's very important. You have to have transparency before you have any kind of accountability. And so the bill that I'm putting into place was making it transparent and making it accountable, when in fact it's not, and it doesn't have to be because of federal rules. So it was funny to me that the very representative who was vehemently opposed to my bill, for whatever motivation, should have been co-authoring the bill with me because of his suspicion of what's going on internationally. So it was the equivalent of saying, well, if I don't like black helicopters, I'm going to hold my eyes really tight and put my hands over my ears so that I don't hear them. And the fact of the matter is, this is something that's good for Oklahoma, and who ultimately lost that night was every House member and the people of Oklahoma, because some good legislation bit the dust because of, I say, disingenuous paranoia. And frankly, the irony is, over the next 18 months, when I will nominate some members to be considered for honorary consul general, this individual and none of the House members, unless I decide to, by courtesy, send him a notice, he's guaranteed that they will not know it.
Wow. So that's interesting. It's interesting how legislation works, and it's interesting to have debate about different issues. And we want to hear your views. Representative Jett wants to hear your views. Right. The email that has been at the bottom of your screen for Representative Jett. Call the number that's right at the end of this video and ask for your representative so that you can give your views on the issues statewide. Representative Jett, every week, it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Always a pleasure, and I appreciate MyLegislator.tv making this available so I can talk to my constituents one-on-one.